Welcome to By the Way with Beth and Stacy. I'm Beth Cooper.
I am Stacey Earlywine, and we are excited to bring, we're just going to do a few stories on the Shadows of Elmwood.
We are. We've got a lot of history that has been researched from Shadows of Elmwood, and we're going to kind of touch on some of those stories during this episode because we have covered so much history in that thing. And I know some of you viewers are like, they always want to talk about the cemetery tour, and that's because it's fantastic.
It is fantastic. And you know, I've said it 1,000 times before, small towns only have their history.
Right.
You know, I think that's what we should focus on. And if you want to know what your past is, it's laying out there.
It's laying out there in the cemetery.
It's buried in the cemetery. I love a cemetery.
I do too.
I can learn so much. A cemetery. Yeah.
Definitely, you can learn, and even if you just see a stone and it has an interesting epitaph on it, and you're like, wonder what that's about. Get on your computer. I mean, my goodness, we can Google anything these days, and there are websites out there devoted to that kind of thing, and you can be surprised what you can find out.
Oh yeah, it's so fascinating. I go back there, and it just, I don't know, I just really enjoy walking through there, and like when we were doing the cemetery tour the other day. I'm just looking over there, and I'm looking at we're directly across from Samuel White, the founder of Flora, and I'm like, my God, that's the reason why we're here,
right?
Is that man right there?
Yeah.
I wish everybody loved history, local history.
I know, not everybody does, but that's okay, because if everybody was like us, it would be a very exciting world, and we probably couldn't handle it.
If everybody was like that, it would be a perfect world. That's what I tell my husband all the time.
Right, and I'm sure he rolls his eyes.
If the world was just like me.
Yeah. No, but really through our show, we're hoping to reach people that don't know much about local history but are intrigued and are suddenly not like, you know what? I actually like local history too.
Right.
You know, because a lot of times people hear history and they think, you know, the Revolutionary War and, you know, Benedict Arnold and like all these things that happened. And yeah, I mean, those are interesting for some and it's important to our country's history, but it can be boring to study it all the time. But there's different types of history, you know, there's local, you can dig into, like, if you're just interested in basketball, you can research the history of basketball and learn things, you know. So just pick your topic and the past can shed so much light on the future.
I want to walk around and take pictures of the when Mr. Nichols put his stamp in the sidewalks.
Yes.
And there's a few of those there because I've walked past them when I didn't know what they were.
Right.
And now that I know what they were, I want to, you know.
A lot of them have been covered up, but a lot of them are still there.
They are still there.
Frank Nichols, he's the one that built the depot. He built several towns around, houses around town, but he was a concrete man. And he's the one that poured the original sidewalks in Flora, some of which are still there.
Still there.
And you can find his stamp. I know where a couple are.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I can't remember. I'm thinking there's almost one on Fair Avenue.
I'm thinking there's one on Fair Avenue too. I think you should walk your neighborhood.
Which would make sense because with Fair Avenue down there, the Fairview Park, that's where the original, the first park was. And we used to have a beautiful grandstand down there and horse racing. And that's where all the fairs and carnivals would be. And, and I imagine Mr. Nichols thought, well, once that all, we needed sidewalks down there. So I imagine that's what happened. Oh, yeah, I just find it fascinating. I think I might do that today if I have time and it's nice, not too hot outside. I might just take a walk and try to find that because I'm almost positive there's one on Fair Street.
Do you have an old ad for us?
I do have another ad, and this one is this is a cream of wheat ad.
Ooh, okay.
Okay,
I'm not a fan of cream of wheat, but...
You know, my mom, we used to make it all the time. I love this, though. So here's the ad. Cream of wheat, dainty breakfast, but delicious dessert. Okay? Love this. So look at the little boy. So you got the great big police officer there, and you got the little boy, and he's holding his box of cream of wheat. And this is what I love. Mom never told me cream of wheat would make me big and fat. Now, how much will I have to eat to grow as big as that?
Oh, my.
It's like, what a way to sell your...
Yeah,
the little boy's thinking, Mom never told me cream of wheat would make me big and fat. Now, how much will I have to eat to grow as big as that?
Oh, funny.
Looking at the cop swinging his pole there. How funny is that ad? The little boy just looks like he's cowering down. This was painted by Leslie Wallace for the Cream of Wheat Company. Copyright 1916 by Cream of Wheat Company.
1916.
I'm not sure where Cream of Wheat comes from. I mean, where it was produced at. I don't remember what.
I don't
Usually
know.
it'll say New York or California or St. Louis or Chicago.
Maybe it was one of those things that's like a generic name, like oatmeal. Like lots of different people made oatmeal.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. We ate cream of wheat all the time. Do you like oatmeal?
I love oatmeal.
See, I can't believe you. Is it a texture thing?
I don't know.
You don't
I
know?
don't know. I don't know what it is. It's probably just boils down to the fact that my parents never bought cream of wheat. So if you didn't grow up eating something, you tend to not like it as an adult.
Right.
Like
yeah.
my grandma never bought peanut butter. She didn't like peanut butter. So she didn't buy peanut butter. Therefore, my mom doesn't like peanut butter. But,
really?
But that's because, like, she just never had it growing
Right.
up, you know? So I think it's just one of those things that's just what you get used to.
Well, my mother was one of those. There was never a lot of food in our house because you know my mom was always on a diet.
Oh, okay.
But what's though shredded wheat? That was all that was in our house, probably because it was cheap.
Oh.
And it was nasty.
So what'd you guys eat?
She would cook at night, but as far as like snacks and stuff, there wasn't snacks.
There wasn't any snacks.
No, she wouldn't have snacks in the house because she'd eat it.
Oh.
So we didn't have like that. There was always raisin bran or cream of wheat. We had a lot of cream of wheat. We had a lot of oatmeal in the house. So I imagine a lot of it had to do with being cheap, you know. Sometimes my dad was a bricklayer, so, you know, he didn't work in the winter and money was a little tight at those times. And so, you know, we battened down. My mom was the bologna queen.
Oh. Everybody ate bologna back then.
I love bologna.
I like bologna too.
I still love it.
I like bologna too. Carissa is my picky eater in my family. She likes bologna. I don't know. You figure her out. You let me know.
Yeah, that's surprising. Does she do hot dogs too? Yeah, we always had hot dogs and that type of thing, but not very many chips. You know, my mom didn't have chips or cookies in the house, and you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I try not to have that stuff in the house because if it's in my house, I'm going to eat it.
Well, I know, but I have 3 kids and they constantly need a snack or something. So yes, we have snack food. Yeah.
I'm a big popcorn girl. I love popcorn. The best day in my life was when they made microwave popcorn.
Really?
I eat it all the time. I eat it a lot of times for supper. I eat it at night a lot. So yeah, interesting.
Yep.
So we've decided to dive into some history, and this where we get a lot of our information is from the cemetery tours. Now, Beth, let's talk a little bit about how the cemetery tour even originated.
Okay.
Do you remember? I know Jessica Muskoff. Is this from the
She-
town that she came from? Did they do
No, it's not. I don't believe it's the town that she came from, but I think she either visited this town or was living in this town for just a short period of time. But another town that she went to had a really awesome cemetery tour, and she went to it, loved it, decided it would be a great fundraiser for the Rotary, which she was involved with in Flora, and brought it up, and it was like, yeah, Rotary was like, yeah, let's try it. I don't think they ever intended for it to turn into what it has, and every year, very well attended. You know, over 1,000 people attend.
I would say it's the most attended thing we do now.
I think people line up. They're sometimes in line for hours to go through to see this thing, and it's went over very, very well. Everybody loves it. I've said it before, but I feel like I have to say it every time. It's not haunted. It's not a haunted trail. It's not that kind of thing. It is simply history come to life. We actors present it in first person, and we actually have you believing that we are that person for the night.
That's who we try to portray. Is that, and like you said, it's not a haunted thing. And it's like people be like, "Oh, we have to wait in line." I have not heard one person complain about waiting in line because they say it is so fantastic that waiting in line for if you have to be there for 2 hours is absolutely worth it. But the genius thing that Jessica started doing.
Explain that.
So that first year we did it, everybody was out at the cemetery. Well, people were waiting in line and there was nothing really going on. Now Jessica started adding 2 or 3 skits there in the depot parking lot.
At the line.
In the line. So while you're waiting in line, you're also being entertained.
Right. It starts while you're in line. So even if you're in line for a while, there's performances for you.
And there's hay bales for you to sit on.
Yeah, you got lots of straw bales, and there's food.
There's food. Yeah, they started doing food, which we never had that before.
And there's restrooms inside the depot. So really, there's everything there that you could need while you're waiting.
Yeah, and actually, and then go inside to the depot. I'm telling you what, guys, if you haven't been inside to the depot and seen the museum, you are missing out.
You sure are.
Museum at the depot is fantastic.
It is.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Is it? You can just go. It's free, right?
It's free.
Yeah, it's free.
It's free, and it's open anytime that the depot's open. And there are some certain times during the weekend it has been open. I don't know how long that's going to continue, but you know, it's definitely worth checking out.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, it's fun, all of the things. It's just fun to look back, right? I have all of the scripts from past cemetery tours. And looking back, there's some I'd forgotten.
Well, I did too.
We've had some really interesting things. So we're not going to hit on every single skit.
We wouldn't have time.
No, we would not have time. But we're going to hit on a few of our favorites.
It's probably going to be one of those things that this will be a show that we incorporate every couple months just so we can visit back. Because it is historical, because we're going to tell you about stories that you've never heard before.
Right.
And they touch on a little bit of everything. But yeah, I love having them. And yeah, so it's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you, Jessica Muskoff is the one that we called her up and said we would like to start doing some of the cemetery tours on By the Way. And she just ran us off the copies of them. So thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.
That was very big help for us.
She runs the whole show with the cemetery tour, and she does an amazing job. And it is a lot of work. It's not just showing up the night of. It is worked on months and months ahead of time. There's an entire writing team that does the research and writing of the skits that meets months ahead of time. And you just don't, when you're there, you don't really get a feel for how much work goes into that night. But it takes a lot of people to pull it off.
And honestly, and the actors, it's not easy for them either, because they are they're performing for you. They're doing a skit, so they're memorizing their lines, and they're dressing up in their costumes. Plus, they get out there. The first wagon goes through at 5 o'clock. Some of us get out the cemetery at 4 o'clock, and there's been times, like especially if you're the last skit, you're not getting home till 1 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. On a good night, it's midnight.
There's been times I got home between 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, and I had been out there since 4 o'clock.
You're talking 8-9 hours. Yeah.
Both nights. So it's long, and you're saying the same thing over and over, but it is so much fun. A lot of you might think, that sounds awful. How can you do that? But it goes by so fast. It goes by in the blink of an eye, and you just get better as the night goes on, and you have fun with your team or whoever's with you. Although I have been out there alone.
I have been out there alone, too. I like it both ways. I mean, I did like the alone, because when you're out there by yourself, it's peaceful.
It is peaceful.
It's very peaceful. But
then you don't have, sometimes people get tired and mess up their lines, and then you're like, wait, was that my cue? Was that not my cue? I'm not sure. Yeah. But when you're by yourself, you don't have to worry about anybody else's cues.
Yeah.
You're just your own person.
I've been by myself twice, one at the depot and one out in the cemetery, and I don't know, as long as the story got by, I think I ad-lib something different every time.
Sure.
But we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we come back, we're going to dive into 2 or 3 of the stories.
At your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville, you can count on experts to have the solutions to keep you running on the road or in the field. More than just your car, the Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville carry a large inventory of Napa products for farms, heavy trucks, and just about everything that moves. Experienced associates understand your needs and are ready to help with the perfect part at a great value. That's Napa Know-How at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores in Flora and Louisville. Briscoe Surplus Sales on the northeast edge of Flora is your one-stop do-it-all shop. Looking for rugged boots and footwear from great brands like Lacrosse, Rocky, and Carolina? They're there. How about top-notch small engine parts and service? Briscoe Surplus Sales has it. Whether you're wiring your switches or switching your wiring, Briscoe Surplus Sales has the solution and the know-how to help you get the job done right the first time. Briscoe Surplus Sales, your one-stop do-it-all shop.
We like technology at Flora Savings Bank. Here's what you can accomplish in our mobile banking app in less than 30 seconds. See account balances in your transactions, set up an account alert, make a transfer between accounts, get an alert text message about your transfer, pay a bill, turn your debit card off and then back on. It all happens in the palm of your hand with our free My Bank to Go app. Search My Bank to Go in the App Store or Google Play and give mobile banking a try. Flora Savings Bank, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Doors, paint, windows, electrical, plumbing, and much more. Oh yeah, give me all your guns too.
August,
What?
you better be dreaming about all the stuff we sell here at Zing Building Center.
Oh, I would. Zing Building Center in Louisville on Route 45. It's a cool place.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacy. I'm Beth Cooper.
I am Stacey Earlywine, and we are going to touch on some of the cemetery tour skits.
Yes.
But we won't be doing them as a skit, of course. We will just be conversing
Yeah.
with you like we
Just
do
gonna
on
tell
every
you.
type of historical thing.
Yeah. So one of the ones that was one of my favorite ones that I did over the years, I've been in it since the beginning, so like 10 years basically, I think, of skits. I played a mother to a man named Monty Henderson. Okay, Monty was played by a man named Sam Rice, who lives up near Toulon, I think. Sam was actually Monty's friend in school, and Monty was killed in Vietnam. Okay, so Sam decided to write a book about Monty, about his life, and that's, I can't think of the name of the book right now. I'll have to look that up, but he did write the book, but the really cool thing that Sam did for Monty was that he raised enough money to buy a stone for this Vietnam veteran who had no money, no family to speak of, and did not have a stone. He was in an unmarked grave. And they raised up so much money, and there is a beautiful stone out there for Monty Henderson now. So we told the story of Monty, and it was one of those stories that just pulls at your heartstrings. It was so sad. He was an abused child, physically abused and mentally, emotionally. His mother, I played his mother, and I have to be careful how I word this because there may still be relatives living, but I didn't have a lot of respect for her.
Right.
She, I think in her older years, kind of softened up a little bit, but as she was raising Monty, she was married to an alcoholic who was very abusive. He couldn't keep a job, and they moved every few years, so Monty was always being moved to different schools. Back then, there wasn't a lot of government programs in place to remove children from abusive homes.
Right.
And he was so physically abused that it was just a daily thing, and he actually began sleeping in the woods to avoid his stepdad. And the school bus would pull up near their house, and he would walk out to the bus from the woods, and he would be blue. Because it was winter.
So cold.
It was
Yeah,
winter,
freezing.
and he was living in the woods.
Wow.
Just to avoid this man. And the school bus, I'm like, what did the school bus driver think? Like,
Right.
he or she had to have obviously seen this. Why wasn't something else done? I don't understand. But the abuse was severe.
Oh, my gosh.
And he was very quiet at school, but he did make a few friends, and Sam Rice was one of them. As soon as he could, he enlisted in the Army. I don't even know that he was 18. I think he might have been one of those. I'd have to reread the book, but I think he was one of those that, let me see if I have it in my notes, if he was actually 17 when he signed up for the Army. But his mom helped him escape and took him to enlist in the Army, and she thought that she would get him to safety by getting him into the Army.
She thought that putting him in the military, what year is this?
During the Vietnam War.
During the Vietnam War. Mm-hmm. Because she was living with an abusive man.
Yeah, so one of my lines that I had to say was, can you imagine how bad the abuse was that I had to send him to war to be safe? I mean, just saying it again gives me chills because I mean, this poor kid, this poor sweet boy. And so he met a girl while he was in Oklahoma for training, and I think he was hoping to one day come back and marry her, but he was killed during Vietnam. So July 9th, 1968, he was on guard, and they had just had some rations prepared to go out for a patrol. And at 7:30 a.m. in the morning, a North Vietnamese sniper fired one round and hit him into the left shoulder and right into his heart, and he was killed instantly. So it's it's just some people have such a sad story. Like he lived this entire childhood, just a hell, personal
Absolutely.
hell that he was in every single day from the time that he could remember. He finally grows up
Yeah.
and decides to get away, and the only way that he could do this was by going to war.
I can't even comprehend.
And then he's killed. I mean, it was just such a sad life. It almost is like I don't.
Yeah. Now, see,
I don't understand
what happened to the mother.
She ended up in a nursing home, I think, somewhere over by like Carmi or somewhere like that eventually. I don't know that she ever divorced that guy. I'm not sure. More information is in the book, and I don't really remember her story. But
Wow.
But anyway, Sam was his friend from school, and Sam knew his story. Not very many people knew exactly what was happening with Monty. He didn't tell any, he wasn't just coming to school and telling him what was happening at home, but Sam knew, and Sam felt that the right thing to do for this guy was to get him a nice stone, and boy did he! It's amazing. I think the American
I don't think I've ever seen
Legion. I wish I had a picture of it, but I don't.
Yeah.
I do have a picture of me and Sam Rice from that night. Ty, if you want to pull that up, this was Sam Rice there playing his friend Monty, and then that's me, the mother, crying over what happened to her son. And I just feel, as a mother, I don't know how she stood there and let that happen. All that did happen to him, I think she could have tried harder to go away, but I wasn't there,
Like I
and
said,
I don't know.
Back in the day,
know.
you're talking the 60s, and
Yeah.
women just didn't have a
Women,
lot. They still didn't have a lot of
voice.
They
didn't,
And I don't know. Me now would be like I'd been like one of my portrayers, Amy Campbell, hammered him. But
Yeah.
I don't know. And but see, even today there are women. I think it's a personality thing. I think a strong-willed personality would have never let it happen.
Right, and she obviously wasn't
Probably
a
just didn't know.
strong-willed personality, and
Yeah. Kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yes. So that's one of the really sad stories. But not every story when you go to one of these is all sad, though.
Oh, it's not. That's
because
a sad
we
one,
try
yeah.
to have some that are a little humorous, some that are military, some that are sad,
Yeah,
some that
the
are
military ones are
murder.
really sad. I'm going to talk about the murder of Homer Boyd. This was a skit that Jim and I were in, and Matt Lovett. Homer Boyd and Hester Boyd were married. Hester was a paraplegic, so she was kind of bedridden. And Matt Lovett played a man named John Patton. So this is their story. This is a murder. This happened in the 40s. Hester and Homer lived in an apartment house on 227 West 2nd Street in Flora. It's actually an empty lot by Huck's. You know where that one little empty lot is? That's where this house was at. They had been married for 13 years, and they had been living in Flora for 7 years. Well, it was Monday night, December 22nd, 1947. It was about 9 p.m., and there was a knock on Homer and Hester's door. Okay? Well, when they went to open the door, there was a man with a liquor bottle. He had a liquor bottle. And they recognized him as somebody who had been in their neighborhood before. It was actually their upstairs neighbor, John Patton. Okay? So, John Patton wants to know if his neighbors want to have a holiday drink with him.
Yeah, holiday drink.
That's what we're calling it, right? So they're like, sure, they wanted to be neighborly, right? So Homer and Hester let John in the house. John's been drinking a little bit. They're kind of sitting down there, and they're having some drinks or whatever. And but now they're, Homer and Hester, they're kind of getting tired, so they're wanting him to leave. But John would not leave. He wouldn't leave the house. He wasn't done yet. There's nothing worse than if you're a non-drinker or a non-partier, being around those partiers who want to keep it going all night long. I think that's literally one of the worst scenarios in the world.
Yes.
I really, truly do.
Yeah.
When I'm literally one of those type people, when I'm tired and ready to go to bed, I'm out, get out of my house.
Yeah, I agree. I need one of those signs that's like, I'm so glad to have you, but please leave by 9. Have you seen those? I think they had them at Hobby Lobby or somewhere.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I saw them somewhere. It was like a real sweet sign. It was like real sweet, like, I love you, thanks so much for visiting, but please leave by 9 o'clock.
You
or
know
something
what?
like
I love that. That's awesome. I need that sign in my life. So anyway, he wouldn't leave, right? Okay. So they're like, oh gosh, what's going on? So Homer got up, and by this time it was like 2:00 in the morning. Okay. Homer goes up and he goes into the kitchen to get a fireplace poker for the fire. Okay, so they have a fire.
Dun.
Now remember, I said that Hester was a paraplegic, so she was kind of bedridden. So when he came back in from the kitchen with that fireplace poker, John Patton was sitting in the bed with his wife. So he's sitting in there, and Hester made the comment that he was getting smart with her. Okay, so. Well, you can imagine what happens. So then, like, you got a fight that breaks out. Everybody's been drinking, and this one guy, Homer thinks that John Patton is getting fresh with Hester, and so the next thing you know, Homer ends up dead. Yeah, John Patton killed Homer. Okay, what happens next? Well, you're in an apartment building, right? So the police were called after lots of yelling. And it's like, so next thing you know, the police show up, and Homer is literally dead on the floor. I can only imagine how crazy this got, because, like, when they did, he died instantly. The coroner stated that he died instantly from a broken neck. Now, you're talking a fireplace poker. Do you know, I mean, I have a fireplace in my house. I understand that. But do you know how hard to break somebody's neck with that? You're hitting them pretty rough.
That's a big old whammo.
That's a big whammo.
Yeah.
So he died instantly from a broken neck when he was hit at the base of the skull. He also had a cut in the front of his head at the hairline and other bruises on the body. So I would imagine
He beat the crap out of him.
But the thing about it is Homer comes in, has got the fireplace poker. So whenever the scuffle started, John Patton grabbed it and beat him to death. But we're going to take a commercial break and come back with the ending of the story.
If you're looking for a loan for your brand new home, call Clay County State Bank. If you want to transfer money so your future will look sunny, call Clay County State Bank.
We got checking and savings and bill pay too.
An online bank, just ask our crew. For all your banking needs, we think you will agree.
Clay County State Bank is the place you need to be.
Clay County State Bank.
At Clay City Banking Company, we're all on the same team, regardless of zip code. At home, work, school, or across the country, you can be part of our team with our cutting-edge mobile banking products. From your hand, you can check balances, transfer money, make deposits, and pay bills. Looking for a loan? We've got you covered with our mortgage, agriculture, commercial, and consumer loans. Join our team today. Clay City, Flora, Louisville, and Fairfield Banking Companies. We're the hometown banks, member FDIC, and equal housing lender.
It's the weekend and your symptoms are worsening. The morning of a big meeting and you have a bigger sore throat. Ever experienced that urgency after picking up your sick child and your community health center has already closed? You will be able to connect to a provider at crhpc.org. Even if you have never been to CRHPC, you are welcome to utilize our services. Feel better after scheduling a video visit with CRHPC.
Tomorrow. Some fear the uncertainty it brings. Some trust the promise it holds. At Grinnell Mutual, we are always looking forward to tomorrow, growing and innovating. So even if the plans you have for the future aren't the same as the plans that the future holds for you, you can be ready. Because we'll be ready, like we have been for over 100 years. Trust in that. Trust in tomorrow. Talk to your mutual agent today.
Your local agent is on the square. Louisville, Clay County Farmers Mutual Insurance.
And welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacy. Today we're discussing local history that has been featured in past cemetery tours,
Yes.
Shadows of Elmwood. So, Stacy, you were right in the middle of a very interesting story.
It is a very interesting story of Homer and Hester Boyd. They lived in a apartment house right there in an empty lot around where Huck's is at now. And John Patton, a neighbor of them, comes over for a holiday drink. He starts drinking. He won't leave. A scuffle breaks out, and Homer Boyd falls dead on the ground, has been beaten with a fireplace poker. Okay? Ouchie, wow, wow. So the police are called. This is where I'm at. So John Patton was arrested. Bond was set at $5,000. Okay, but he couldn't post the bond. So he goes into,
bond would have only been $500.
Yeah,
right?
and he couldn't post bond. But today, I guess in Illinois, it wouldn't matter because they don't put it. There is no.
Yeah, you can beat your neighbor with a fireplace poker, and
today they just let him out. Okay. And John kept saying that it was self-defense. I'm not buying the self-defense.
I'm not buying it either.
I didn't buy it when Matt Lovett was saying it was self-defense. I'm not buying it now.
Yeah.
So what was happened, he was held over. The grand jury hearing was in March. So this happened in December, January, February, March. So 3 months later, there was a trial. And 4 months later, there was finally a trial in April. Get this.
Wow.
This is where it gets interesting. The trial started on a Monday with jury selection and the state presenting their case for the next 2 days. They had several witnesses, but only one eyewitness, and that was Mrs. Boyd. Well, Mrs. Boyd completely messed up every answer they did. When they would ask her a question, she would be like, I don't remember. It was this. She was probably traumatized, poor thing. And so every answer she gave was something totally different.
Do you think it's possible she was maybe low intelligence level where she just didn't really understand? Maybe? I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why.
I don't know, but they kept asking her all kinds of questions, and she couldn't get one answer. She couldn't get anything right.
Her story changed.
Her story changed left and right, okay? There were 8 men and 4 women on the jury that decided his fate, and they couldn't decide whether it was self-defense or if it was murder, and it was a hung jury, so he was a free man.
He was a free man.
He was a free man, and they never tried him again for it, all because Mrs. Boyd just couldn't get her story straight.
Yeah.
After Homer died, Hester moved to Springfield, and she lived in Springfield. She died 20 years later. That's where she's buried. John Patton apparently was married, but his wife filed for divorce a few years later, and then he left Flora, and nobody's heard from him since. John Patton.
Interesting.
Isn't that
where
interesting?
he ended up.
I don't know.
Hopefully someplace without a fireplace.
Yeah, but that was a brutal beating. But
that is a brutal beating. Next time you drive by Huck's and you see that empty lot there across on the other corner.
That's where it was at.
That's where it all went down. The violent murder.
1947.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah, me too.
They just couldn't. That poor girl.
Yes.
She couldn't. I played Hester, and she just couldn't get it together.
No, she couldn't.
Nope, she couldn't.
Which I think, even if you're traumatized, I would think if you were, you could at least remember the facts,
I would think so.
Like he came in, he got drunk, he hit him, he hit him back, and then he whacked him, and I don't know. That's why I wondered if she maybe had some type of mental disability or something.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I don't know.
She probably did.
Okay.
Now, what are you going to talk about?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Henry James family, okay? This story was played by Ben Van Heining, I believe, and his entire family. Not all of his kids, but some of them, I think. They were all in it together. So the story of James Henry is that their tombstone out there, there's 5 people buried there, I believe 5, and 1 stone.
Yeah,
and
this was our very.
You were in this one?
This is my very first skit. This is the very first skit that we were all in.
Okay.
Basically, I'll take.
Well, don't tell the story.
I'm not going to tell the story because it makes me mad.
Yeah. It's one that'll get you fired up.
I don't even know what her name is because we never got a name.
Yeah, no, I think it does at the end.
Does it?
Okay, I'll get to that
You
part.
get to
Okay,
refresh
Henry
my
James
memory.
and family, because this was a long time ago. So Henry James, on the tombstone for all of these people, it says Henry James and family. No names of any of the other people. Rude.
Terrible.
Rude. And here's the story. This is what he did. So he was not a good guy. He was a farmer here in Clay County. He says that he was a fine, upstanding man, but I think that could be debated because he wasn't an upstanding man at all. His story talks about how his house burnt down and then he committed suicide. But there's way more to his story. So what he did was he was a murderer, and he killed his entire family. He killed his wife. Her name was Minnie.
That's right. James.
Yes, he killed his daughter, Elizabeth. She had a son, and he killed the baby. And he also killed his own son, Dean. So he killed his wife, his daughter, his son,
and his grandchild.
All in a fit of rage. Apparently, he did not kill himself right away.
No, he didn't kill. He didn't off himself right then.
No,
it was only when that started coming down on him.
But he did burn the house down. And I think that he burned the house down right after he killed them. He killed them all in cold blood. I'm not sure.
Was there a reason why? I can't remember.
I don't know that any reason was figured out. And I don't have the years written down on this one.
It was very
Some
early.
of these scripts say, it was, I want to say in the 1800s. It wasn't.
It was very, it was.
Yeah. So he burnt the house down, and then he tried to tell everyone that he was just grieving and not really tell the whole story, but he got scared.
Yeah.
He got scared of the police and that they were going to figure him out and figure out that he killed them all before he burned the house down, not that they all died in this house fire.
Were they all in the house? I mean, were their bodies scattered out, or did he leave all the bodies in the house and burn that? He was trying to get rid of the evidence.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And
which back in those days, would they even really be able to?
So he's the one that picked out the tombstone, and he and he had the words,
Oh yeah, didn't even give him a name.
Yeah, Henry James and family. Didn't even name him. What a jerk! If he was here right now, I'd just be like,
yeah,
right
he's like literally one of my least favorite people in the entire cemetery right now.
Yeah, he's awful. So then after that,
but wait. He picked. But wait a minute.
He had to be the one that picked out the stone.
Right. How would that work? Yeah, because he killed all them. Do we remember how long it was before he killed himself?
No, I don't see. Okay, so a little difference between how the skits are written now to how they were early. The early skits were a little shorter because there was, I think, more of them.
Yeah.
But they also didn't include a lot of the dates, like especially on the script, the dates of this person's death and stuff. So this script that I have doesn't include any of the research.
I thought it was pretty
other
vague.
Than what's in the. It's a little bit more vague. So in the more recent scripts, like as writers, we include some of our research in the notes. That way you can refer back and kind of get a feel for the character. But anyway, so then he killed himself.
Yeah.
He felt like the police were onto him, and he killed himself. So then they were all buried there. But no, he couldn't have picked out the stone if it also had his name on it. Yeah, that's right. But I wonder who decided the fact that it wouldn't have the other people's names on it.
I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Because is it Henry James and then they have one that just says family?
It's one big stone. It's like a big tower thing, I think. And
Henry
it says Henry James and family.
And family, yeah. Because they don't even, because who knows where they're even all at.
Right.
There's 5 people buried there.
And they paid for something tall. And, I mean, it wasn't like they were cheapskates about it. I mean, and they could have, a lot of stones that are shaped like that have a name on each side.
I'm going to have to write this down because we need to do a little bit more research on him.
So his family names were Minnie, Elizabeth, Dean, and then the baby. I'm not sure the baby.
I can't even fathom it.
Yeah. What a rotten story.
Yeah.
So people talk about crime and how there's so much evil in the world today, and there is evil in the world today. I do think there's more evil maybe than there used to be, but there always I don't know. There's always been a lot of evil, even right here in little old peaceful Clay County, Illinois, where you think nothing ever happens and you think it's boring and nothing happens. But let me tell you, there are a lot of murdered people out there in that cemetery.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because I want to go. Who's the one family of murders that every time you cut, it's like Jim portrayed them.
The Addedells?
The Addedells.
They were always in trouble. I don't know that they were all murderers, but they were always.
The Addedale. And that's a name you don't hear of anymore here. Yeah. They are I just think that they are.
Yeah, that Henry James, that was the very first year.
That was my very first year. I'll never forget that year, Beth, because also those of us that's been in it since day one, it's a lot more comfortable out there now, because back in the day when we did that, we just went out there, we stood there. We didn't have props. We didn't have chairs. We stood in that cemetery.
I had a chair the first year. I had a rocking chair.
Yeah,
because
I
was the very first. I was by myself and I sat at the front. That's the one I was rocking the baby. But I would stand to save my life.
It was a couple of years later. It's like, okay, we're standing out here for 9-10 hours, and we literally like that. And that was miserable. Friday night was melting hot.
It was one of those like it was up in the 90s.
Oh my gosh!
But then come in and it was thunder and lightning and the storm rolling in, and then it got and the next night was and then the next night was cold.
Then the next night we froze to death. The night before we melted and got eaten alive by bugs, and the next night froze to death. And we didn't now. We go out there, we have food, we have soda, we have snacks, we have chairs.
You can't see all of it. We keep it hidden, but it's back there behind us. Anyway, do you have another story?
Yeah, I do. We're probably going to take a little break here just to say. I know it always goes fast, but I do like the fact that we are like more modernized in the cemetery now with the chair and stuff.
And I always take a big area rug out there. This year we were together, so you brought yours, and I gave mine to Carissa. But that keeps the little bugs that are in the grass from going up into your socks and shoes and skirts. It just knocks some of the bugs down if you're standing on a rug rather than in the grass.
It does make a big difference, but it didn't stop the ants from getting in the cupcakes.
No, it didn't.
You're still mad about that,
Sadness.
aren't you? I'm really mad about that now. But anyway, we're going to take a commercial break. We're going to come back, and I'm going to tell you another fun story.
Okay.
Do you bowl like this? That's great. Do you bowl like this? That's great too. That's because whether you're a pro or you just want to have a lot of fun, at Pegel's Silver Dollar Lanes, we have a lane for you. We have galaxy bowling, gaming for kids and adults, Joe's Pizza, a full bar, darts, pool, and fresh and clean bowling shoes. Boy, does that smell nice. So come on down to Pegel Silver Dollar Lanes in Effingham, where we have a lane for you.
My name is Robin Stanford. I own Stanford Marketing. It's a promotional products business along with an embroidery business. And we do custom hats, t-shirts, anything, you name it, we can make it. People like that we do stuff in-house and we can actually make things here and that we're not contracting the work out to other places. We never say no. We always try to find a way to do it. If anybody can do it, we can do it. We are hardworking women, that is for sure. Come to Stanford Marketing in Flora for all your custom and promotional needs.
The insurance specialists have options to tailor to your needs at CSI Insurance Brokers. Experienced insurance brokers at CSI are skilled with all types of insurance plans and policies and represent many companies, including Safeco Insurance. You'll benefit from their detailed expertise, unbeatable premiums, and commitment to customer service. CSI Insurance Brokers and Safeco Insurance Company, providing affordable rates on quality insurance since 1952.
For over 50 years, at your locally owned and operated Royal King Supply in Salem and Olney, we've helped you and your neighbors enjoy an easy country lifestyle. We carry the most thorough sporting goods department around with a huge variety of hunting and fishing gear, camping equipment, and a variety of firearms for any need. Our team is here to help you find whatever you need. Open every day, it's Royal King in Salem and Olney, your locally owned farm and home store.
Welcome back to By the Way with Beth and Stacy. We're discussing some past history from cemetery tours.
Yeah.
And Stacy has a really fun story to share.
I do have a fun story to share, and it's very interesting. It is the two sisters that were born in Sailor Springs, Geraldine Stanley and Marie Cockrell Jansen. And the thing about it is there's quite an age difference between the girls. Marie was born in 1905, and her sister Geraldine, were their half sisters, wasn't born till 2017.
2017? Wow. 1917. Gotcha.
My menopausal brain just did it. Oh my gosh.
Crack up. I'm
like,
whoa.
Oh yeah, I'm losing it. So we're talking about Geraldine Stanley and her sister Marie Cockrell Jansen. Okay, this is great because these sisters could not have been more opposite than whatever you want to do.
They were opposites, but they loved each other.
They very much did.
Yes.
Okay, so Geraldine and Marie. Marie was an eccentric woman. She ended up being the it girl of burlesque.
She was a burlesque girl.
She was a burlesque
right here in Clay
girl.
County.
Yes, it was the greatest thing ever. Let me find my other. La da da. Where's my other paper? It's got all my stuff on it.
I don't know.
I seem to have lost half my. Oh, it's on the back side.
Oh yeah, it's a two. You are losing it.
Okay, both girls were born in Sailor Springs. Okay. Geraldine was born in 1917 as Geraldine Hunt. Okay. Marie was born in 1905. Making sure I get everything. Get your
facts straight.
Get my facts straight. Well, it's crazy because Marie changes her name to Jerry.
Yes.
Because she hates her names.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never did understand that. So Marie is I love this Marie. So Marie decides to marry a professional gambler at the age of 16.
Oh, good idea. Let's marry a professional gambler at the age of 16.
Yes, so she marries a professional gambler at 16 years old, and she moves to St. Louis. This is where she starts a career as a showgirl. One of the very first things she ever did was she was an assistant to a magician.
Okay.
I wonder how many times she got sawed in half.
A bunch, I bet.
Later, she moved to Chicago and started her career in burlesque. I just think this is the greatest thing ever. So, we're still talking about Marie. So, Marie is going to, she's been a magician's assistant, and now she's like headed to Chicago and is going to be a burlesque girl. She became a headliner and built up quite a name for herself as Jerry McCauley.
So her sister was Geraldine.
Geraldine.
But she liked her name better than her own name of Marie. So she changed her name to Jerry. So now you have Jerry and Geraldine.
Yeah.
And I think there's a
Marie,
few lines.
a.k.a. Jerry. Geraldine, a.k.a. Geraldine.
And I think Geraldine gives her a hard time about that in the skit.
Yeah. She totally gets mad at her. She's like, you stole my name. She's like, you weren't using it.
Yeah.
This is very interesting. So now when I talk about Marie, a.k.a. Jerry, we're talking about Jerry, the burlesque girl. She worked with Abbott and Costello, and she was in the movie Legs and Laughter in 1931.
Okay.
Were you a big Abbott? Did you ever watch Abbott and Costello?
I have seen it, but no, I'm not like a big fan. Like
I wasn't either, but I always loved all the Abbott and Costellos were like they met Frankenstein or ghosts. They were great. So she started to become famous. This one of her, I would say one of her biggest fames though is when Jerry gets arrested. She gets arrested. It was 1929, and she was doing a regular dance. She started out on stage in this robe. She left the stage and came back in a little less and danced. Left the stage again and came back with a little less on and danced some more. You get the picture?
I get the picture.
Well, the police officer who happened to be in the audience said it was indecent and obscene.
Uh-oh.
And she was arrested and had to go to court. The officer produced my costume and said it was indecent. So at this time in the skit, Geraldine pulls out literally these lacy blue underwears from her pocket and is holding it in her hand. And apparently that's all that Jerry had on in this. So it was kind of. My attorney tried to spin it and say it was art and an athletic performance. Oh, so she
It's art.
It's art. It is art. Yeah. So I find that very interesting. So she was arrested, which, okay, that's awesome, right? Now, Marie, a.k.a. Jerry, was not lucky in love. With the exception, with the gambler included, she was married 5 times. And she was married to a professional wrestler, Ray Steele. Yeah. I can't remember. I don't understand that. So Marie is off. Married 5 times, a gambler, a wrestler, burlesque, magician, living her life, where Geraldine stayed in Clay County. And she married Orville Stanley when she was 16. Of course, back then people got married early. And they were married for 27 years until he passed away in 1960. So Geraldine and her husband Orville, they had 9 children. Get this is crazy. 9 children, 32 grandchildren, 76 great-grandchildren, and 36 great-great-grandchildren before she passed away.
She has a ton of descendants in Clay County.
A ton of descendants. Isn't that something?
Yeah. She was a pretty cool gal too.
She was.
I mean, she was a family woman, just the opposite of Marie.
But two really
totally both
different
extraordinary people.
Yeah. And the thing about Marie, a.k.a. Jerry, the burlesque dancer, she never could have children. She didn't have children. But when she was older and retired from the stage, she helped young women find homes for children that they could not take care of. She would travel by train
I forgot this part. This was the best part.
Yeah. She had a heart,
Yeah.
She would travel by train from northern Illinois down to southern Illinois to deliver babies to their adopted parents. And one of those babies that she delivered was raised right here in Clay County. And another baby she delivered to a sister in Indiana. So they had apparently they had another sister because one of the babies she delivered to a sister in Indiana.
Yeah.
So I just think I don't know, I think it's a really cool story. Marie died in 1967 at the age of 62. And apparently she had a stepson. She wanted to be buried next to her mother, but her stepson buried her up north. So she probably was still in Chicago. Chicago was her last stop. Geraldine died at the age of 93.
Wow.
And Geraldine is buried out at Elmwood Cemetery with her darling husband. But, yeah, I mean, you talk about two people that couldn't be night and day.
And this, so Stacy Blair and Stephanie Hemphill played the two sisters in this, and they sang at the beginning, "Sisters."
Sister, yeah, I can't remember the song.
Yeah, it's from White Christmas.
Yeah.
Well, so I know it. Sisters.
And then you go on your great humming.
I'm not singing for everybody. You guys will make fun of me forever. No.
Yeah, of course.
You will.
But yeah, those two girls, I remember that. A lot of times, like when we're doing the cemetery skits, you know, we're out there the whole time. We don't get to see a lot of them, you know. I mean, there's so many that I haven't seen in the past. But I did jump on a wagon on that one, and they were next. And I enjoyed that skit because it was so. And those descendants are still here. Kim Smith, Mark Smith's wife, the preacher of the Methodist Church.
Jency Thompson.
Trudy Hurd. That's
Brenda Perry.
Are those? That's aunts. No, great aunt.
I think that was their grandmother, great grandmother.
It was great. Yeah. Geraldine. They were related to Geraldine.
I think it was their grandma.
Yeah, I think it is. So you're talking Trudy Hurd's grandmother was Geraldine Stanley, and it was so it would have been their great aunt who was the burlesque.
Yeah, the burlesque dancer.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that
story. Too. Yeah, I have another real short one.
Yeah, let's do it. We got time for another short one. Go ahead.
So this is about the people that are buried in the mausoleum. There is a mausoleum out there at Elmwood, and it is, if you take that very first road into Elmwood, it's just wham bam right there on your left. There's a little bitty building, and those bodies are in the building. That's what a mausoleum is. They're not underground. They're in the building. And this little stop in the cemetery tour had two stories going on simultaneously. So I'm only going to talk about the first part of it. And that is about the man and the woman that are buried inside of there. And their names are Robert and Clorinda Gray. And they were born in Indiana. But in 1862, during the Civil War, Robert Gray joined Company C of the 101st Indiana Volunteer Regiment at 19 years old. He signed up for the Civil War. So he was stationed in Kentucky and Tennessee. He was on the Union side. He ended up in the Battle of Chickamauga. It's the second bloodiest battle of the Civil War, Chickamauga. Wow. The Union Army was taking the offensive and driving the Confederates out of Tennessee, and they were trying to capture Chattanooga. It was called the Gateway of the Deep South, and it was a key railroad center. So it was important to the war that they get Chattanooga because of the railroads. and they succeeded in taking Chattanooga, but the Confederates decided to try and take it right back, and they attacked at Chickamauga, and it was known as 3 Days of Hell and the second largest death toll in the war. The Union lost. That was
the battle they lost.
That was a battle that the Confederates won. Mr. Gray was not around to see the end of that battle. He passed away. No, he didn't. He was wounded on the first day of fighting, and then they shipped him off. So that's why he didn't stick around to see it. He was wounded, and the Confederates shipped him off as a prisoner of war. And so he ended up as a POW on the Confederate side, and he couldn't come back to his unit until they did a trade-off for one Union soldier for one Confederate soldier. And that did eventually happen, but he could not rejoin his unit due to his injury. So he was then in the Invalid Corps. And then he came back to Clay County, married Clorinda, and became an insurance man.
Yeah, that insurance.
So he was an insurance man. But that is why that's who's buried there. When you go past that little bitty building there, that's a Civil War soldier buried in there.
I didn't realize it was a Civil War. I knew that it was an insurance salesman.
Man. Yeah, but
like one of the first ones in town.
Yes, sure was.
I didn't know he was a Civil.
Yeah,
he entered into the Civil War.
Yeah, he got into the insurance business. But the really cool thing, he had been in battle at the Civil War.
Wow, yeah.
So him and Clorinda are buried there. So when you go by, be like, Robert and Clorinda. Thank you for your service. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. I missed that part of the skit.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting.
Yeah. So that skit went on to do a few other things in it. We'll talk about that another time.
So we get even on, by the way, with Beth and Stacy, we learn stuff too.
We do. Yes.
Yeah, that was
awesome. We
awesome.
probably knew that at the time, but you forget things.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that the words on my second part of my skit is on the backside. Yeah, I knew that last night.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Menopausal brain, I'm telling you.
None of us are perfect. I mean, we're close, but we're not.
I can't.
You're not perfect, Stacy.
What?
You're not.
Hey, Ty, look that up and see if it says on Google Stacy Early Wine is perfect. I'm pretty sure there's a big yes by it. Okay.
He's going to check. He's going to check. We'll let you know how that goes. All right, let's end this show with that. Well, let's go with a positive quote. What do you have?
I'm going to try this one. This one's by Angelina Jolie.
Oh, okay.
I'm interested. Figure out who you are separate from your family and the man or woman you're in a relationship with. Find who you are in this world and what you need to feel good alone. I think that's the most important thing in life. Find a sense of self, because with that, you can do anything else.
Oh, yeah. That's like one of my favorite sermons. If we want to get into that, it's like I identify as the daughter of the king. And no matter what anyone takes from me, I will always be that.
Absolutely.
But there are people that put their identity in, I'm a soccer mom. And then one day their kids aren't in soccer anymore and they're lost.
Guess what?
They're lost. Or they put their identity in like, well, I'm Joseph's wife. And I do whatever Joseph does. Well, then Joseph goes off and cheats on her and he's gone out of the picture and she's lost because who is she? And it's like, don't put your identity in stuff like that.
Find out who you are.
Who
There's
are
nothing
you?
More. I had a girlfriend at one time, and every time she dated somebody else, that's what she was into. It's like, what are you doing? Because that's not going to last either. Then you're into this. Now you're into this. Now she's into this.
Yeah, not me.
Not me. No. Nope to self. If you're in a relationship with Stacy, you're second. You're in the back seat.
It's pretty much the same way with me. I do my own thing. I mean, Jason and I have a great relationship, but I don't go and do his hobbies with him, and he doesn't go do my hobbies with me. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
No, do it.
If you both like the same thing, if you truly like it, that's fine.
That's fine.
But if you're just doing it because that's what he does, and you don't know what to do with yourself, then you have a problem.
You're never going to see me helping Jim build a ramp or going on a mission trip. I went once, don't like it, not going back. Not my thing.
Yeah,
not
it was
my
probably
thing.
hot.
He loves it. It was hotter than Hades, and it was not cool. But so he does his thing. I support him when he's gone. We come back, we have a good old time, do things together, then we split again.
Yeah.
I always said the best way to keep a relationship together is never spend much time together.
Yeah.
That's Stacy's words of wisdom.
There's some truth to that, I do believe. Someone was telling me about a couple they know. They don't actually live together. They're married, and they do things together, but they actually have separate houses that they sleep in. And I'm like, if you could afford to do that, that is probably the secret to a good marriage.
Probably, yeah.
So you don't have to fight about things about who filled up the tea pitcher.
That's right.
Or
Well, that's it.
Yeah, we're out of time. Ah, gosh. Okay. Join us next time on By the Way with Beth and Stacy. Thank you.
God bless you. Have a great day.